All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to start a gear review that's going to break down this guy right here. And this is the Custom Gear Modifications Cobra. This is the big brother to this guy, which is the Custom Gear Modifications Sidewinder. Put a lot of hours on that, but this is old news. And now all eyes and attention are upon the Cobra. And so this is the newest saddle to hit the market here in 2022. It was released the first or second week in February. I got my hands on this January 6th, I believe. I've hunted out of it late season. I've done gear reviews out of it, and I've actually hung in my house and messed around with it right here on that column right there. And so I have probably 10 to 12 hours messing around or hunting out of this saddle. And so I feel like that's a fair shake. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time and we are going to start breaking this saddle down. We're going to go over the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we will give final thoughts in regards to the Custom Gear Modifications Cobra. So before we get into the review, let me first say this, that starting from here on out, I am going to start utilizing small windows of opportunity where I can film maybe for 30 minutes or so each day. And then I'm going to compile all of those days together and complete a review. So I say that because you might see me in different outfits, different settings, beard, different haircuts, all of that good stuff. And the purpose of that is so that hopefully I can utilize small windows of opportunity and I can compile some gear reviews and keep the gear reviews flowing instead of waiting for one day where I might have 4 hours to go out there and do a gear review. So keep that in mind during these reviews and all reviews from here on out. I am going to start trying to utilize my time a little bit more effectively, but yet still keep these gear reviews coming. So let's jump right into this review. So the first thing that probably stands out to you about the Custom Gear Modifications Cobra is this right here. It's profile in transport mode. And so much like the Custom Gear Modifications Sidewinder, when Jerry created both of these saddles or designed them, he designed them with a transport mode where basically he sewed a loop in the top band and then he installed a G-hook actually on the top of the removable leg straps. And so when you're at your tree, you can expand the saddle. When you're walking, you can simply use the G-hook and you can hold the saddle up to the profile of kind of like a weightlifting belt or something like that. So again, it's only 4, maybe 5 inches high in the transport mode, depending on what size you get. And the same is true with the Cobra. The removable leg straps has a G-hook at the top and that loop, and you can simply open the saddle up when you get to the tree. When you're walking, you can simply close that saddle back up, use the G-hook, and then now you're in transport mode. That's pretty slick. On my reviews, I'm going to start pointing out companies who are introducing little features that we haven't seen before. And in all honesty, when the Sidewinder came out, it was the first saddle that had some type of hook like this where you could put your saddle into transport mode, and now we are seeing that follow through with its big brother, the Cobra. The one thing everybody likes about Custom Gear Modifications is the price point. The Sidewinder comes in at $175, and that, in my opinion, makes this the best budget-friendly saddle out there with all of the features that are packed into it. But the new saddle, the Cobra, it comes in at $225. And the reason for the price increase is because this is not just a single panel saddle, it is also a double pleated saddle, and it can expand much like other expandable saddles that are on the market. And so if you are looking into an expandable saddle, you know, that has a pleated design, if you're a little bit bigger and that's something that's always caught your eye, Custom Gear Modifications has now entered the pleated seat design on the saddle. And they are offering a pretty good saddle at a very budget-friendly price. Again, $225. The thing I really like about this pleated seat design is, one, it's unique, but two, it keeps the pleat closed. So you don't have to worry about walking or moving or bouncing up and down and having this pleat open up. As you can see right here, it's going to take intentional effort to open this pleat. And the reason being is, I'll show you here on this side, much like the Wild Edge Berserker, It utilizes a 4-inch material in the center of the pleat. This is not an elastic material like the Berserker. I've had no problems with the Berserker material. It's just a different material. And then on the top and the bottom of this pleat, you will see the webbing straps. Now this is the same webbing straps that you see around the edge. It might be a slightly smaller profile. I'm not sure if it's 1.5 inches or 2 inch, but on the top and the bottom of this centerpiece, that's where you get your webbing straps at. And these guys, when they're closed, they stay closed, and when you open them, they stay opened. And I really like that about this Cobra saddle. Let me give you a little close-up of that. And another thing about this pleated seat design that I haven't seen anywhere else is on the ends right here, you'll notice that Jerry has sewn this webbing strap that you can open and close to expand the pleated seat design out here by your hip. And so for bigger guys or smaller guys, now you have an adjustable method by simply loosening or tightening this little strap that's on the edge of your hip right here. And you can see how that just opens that wide open. And so we'll talk a little bit about these features in depth when we get this saddle on. And so again, that is the pleated seat design. In the fully closed position, you can operate this as a single panel saddle. It has pretty much the same profile as the Sidewinder. I think it's 12 to 15 inches in height, depending if you get the medium or the large. And of course, there's sizing that is on the website that you can go in and determine if you're a medium or a large. But you can run this in a single panel mode. You can run it with the bottom open or the bottom closed, the top open or the top closed. And so again, just the regular single panel profile is about 12 inches to 15 inches, again, depending on what size you get. As far as the bridge is concerned, you can see right here that it consists of both AM steel and Oplux. You can have the AM steel on your hip loops or your bridge loops, and with that AM steel, you can then slide the prusik up and down your bridge loops, and you can change the pressure setting. We see this on a lot of saddles. And then of course, up here with the Oplux bridge itself, it is attached with this prusik. Again, this bridge is a very common bridge. Ever since Heath from H2 brought out the Triad bridge, most companies have gone to some type of bridge version that is like that. And here on the Custom Gear Cobra, it's no different. But I like the way that AM steel works in conjunction with the Oplux. I know that the earlier Latitude method saddles, they had it, and I really like that. And so that is your bridge. You have adjustability in the length of your bridge, and you have the adjustability on your bridge loops as well, or your hip loops as well, to change the pressure settings. As far as your waist belt is concerned, it is a metal-free option, much like the Latitude method. I'm not sure what this knot is here. The bridge is very easily adjusted. I like this. I like the metal-free options better than the belt buckle, Raptor style buckles, because the more weight you put on this friction knot, the harder it bites, and so you really don't have to worry about saddle sag. And so I like that. And of course, he is utilizing the containment sleeve also, which allows you to shift the knot of your waist belt either to the right or to the left. And so the one thing that Jerry has done different here is he's utilized a much smaller diameter rope for the waist belt, and I do like that. You can see the difference between the 8mm and what this is. I'm not sure if that's a 6mm T-back or what it is, but it's a much smaller waist belt than it is with the bridge, and so I kind of like that as well. But that's what your waist belt consists of. This Oplux or whatever it is, 6mm with the knot, and then your containment sleeve where you can change that knot to the right or to the left. On the top of the Cobra, you have your standard Molle webbing right here with the snakeskin pattern. As you can see here, I have my Versa hanger that I use for my tethered one sticks. That's on the right side, and then I have my platform hanger. This is the battlement platform hanger that I have, and I've been utilizing here. And so it holds them in there really, really nice and secure. Then you have some additional loops that he created with the Molle. And then one thing that Jerry started with the Sidewinder was not only do you have your lineman's loops here, but he has sewn an additional load-bearing loop down here. So for you guys that use a figure 8 or some type of, you know, rappel device and you hook your figure 8 and your rappel device on a loop, that is what that's for. So that comes in handy as well. And so that kind of is everything in regards to the Molle webbing and the support and the loops that this has to offer. The Lineman's belts, loop, you can find them easily. They're robust. They're not going to collapse on you, and so they're going to stay open. So that makes it nice as well. As far as the bridge loops, your bridge loops are essentially standard. They aren't the softest bridge loops out there, but they're also not the hardest bridge loops out there. I've had no problems adjusting this prusik up and down my bridge loops, and I've had no problems with this prusik biting and holding me secure wherever I want them to be. And so again, just standard bridge loops, nothing spectacular and nothing not to like about them. They're standard, as you see with most other saddles. So many people have asked, how can Custom Gear Modifications make a saddle like this at a budget-friendly price, whereas other companies are charging $70 to $100 more for a saddle that you're basically getting something very comparable? Truth be told is this: he gets second-hand material, and by second-hand I don't mean it's weaker or inferior in its strength or weight load-bearing ratings and all that stuff. It is second-hand in only the color options. So he can get a ton of material in, but the webbing straps on one order might be this color, and then on the next order it might be 3 or 4 shades darker or 3 or 4 shades lighter. And so you will notice that on these saddles, the color schemes might change periodically, and that is one way that he can do that. And so there's nothing wrong with the integrity or the structure of these saddles. In fact, you can go on Custom Gear Modifications YouTube channel and you can watch, he's posted this saddle right here being put through rigorous third-party testing, and you can see the weaknesses of it and the strengths of it, but it has passed third-party testing. And so again, even though it's a budget-friendly price, it does not mean that the quality or the integrity is not there for the weight ratings. Another feature or option that I really like on saddles is removable leg straps. Anybody that's watched my channel, you know that I highlight that and I like it. When I am just using sticks, I really don't utilize leg straps. And so for me, having the ability to remove your leg straps is a plus. If I'm one sticking, then depending on the saddle, I do like to utilize the leg straps because you're kind of just hanging from your saddle, and I don't like the feeling of the saddle wanting to slide up on you. And so here on the Cobra, you have removable leg straps, much like the Sidewinder. It's simple. You just pull that up and then twist this little tri-glide here, and then you can slide that down, and now your leg straps are off. Now, if you want your leg straps off, obviously you won't be able to walk in the transport mode, but nonetheless, it would be the same as walking in with any other single panel saddle that doesn't have that transport mode option. So it's at least an option. You can have removable leg straps. So let's talk about saddle comfort for just a moment here, and then I'll show you some demonstration and also run some B-roll of when I've hunted out of this saddle. Essentially, it doesn't matter which saddle it is. I've hunted out of 9 saddles this year, and it doesn't matter which one it is, which brand it is. I don't care. I'm a gear junkie. I like gear, and I wheel and deal and mess around with gear all the time. But no matter what company I'm going to use their saddles, the question is, can I achieve comfort out of that saddle? There are 2 things that you have to address if you want to achieve maximum comfort. The first is you cannot have a strap on your iliac crest, and then you can't have a strap that goes right over top the ball joint of your hip. If you do, it's going to create a hot spot after a while, and you're going to feel some discomfort. And so with all of the saddles that I have tried, that has always been the determining factor of whether or not I could achieve comfort in a long-term scenario. Now, there are 3 ways that you can basically utilize the Cobra saddle. One is with both of the pleats closed. That's what you have right here. You can see that the pleats are closed. And with both pleats closed, you have a similar profile to the Sidewinder, to the Latitude XL, the Phantom, the H2, and then also the Berserker and the regular Method 2. You have a similar profile to those saddles, and you know, in the leaning position, that can become very comfortable, you know, because now this bottom strap, it goes, my ball joint's right here, my iliac crest is here, and so I could lean like this all day and not have hot spots on those 2 areas. The thing about this saddle is because of the uniqueness of that pleat, how it has that HD poly and then two straps that are two webbing straps that fold over top of that, even though it's not uncomfortable, it just has a different feel to it when the pleats are closed, because now I'm getting support here, but I'm also getting like big time support from that 4-inch pleated design that's closed up. And so at first, and I'll run some B-roll right now. I got this, I think it was January 6th or 7th. You can see my stockings were still hung for Christmas. And when I first sat in it, I'm like, man, there's something going on and I don't like it because it's creating a pressure point, and it was creating a pressure point right here. And so I'm like, what is going on? You can see in the leaning position, I don't have any pressure right here on that top strap at all. But I was still getting a pinch there, and I finally determined what it was. If you can see right here, the way this pleat is sewn and it folds over top each other like that, where it bunches up or where it folds and is sewn, that's what I felt just kind of cranking into my leg there. And I was like, man, I don't know if I like that. I've even reached out to Jerry, gave him the feedback. He has broad shoulders. I told him what I'm experiencing. He's actually drew up and mocked up another prototype and ran it through testing and stuff like that to try to figure out ways to eliminate it. But I will say this, that the more I've hunted out of this saddle and used this saddle, the more those areas in that center webbing, and also those webbing straps that are, you know, foldable, they have broken in considerably. So again, as of now, with about 10 to 12 hours, something like that, I could sit just like this, or I could lean, just like this. I've even messed around with a higher or lower tether height. It really doesn't matter. I could lean like this, and I could achieve comfort for a long time. So that's one way that you can utilize the Cobra, is with both pleats closed. Just note that right up front, when I first got this saddle, all of this was very, very rigid. You know, I could shake the saddle and couldn't open it. Now, if I cranked on it hard, I could get it to open. So the straps, the webbing, everything's starting to really break in nicely. So keep that in mind if you go with this. The second way that you can lean or even sit in the saddle is with the top pleat open or the bottom pleat open. Now, when I was hunting, I remember thinking I was pulling the bottom pleat down, and I actually pulled the top pleat up. I grabbed and I pulled, and I felt a release, and I just thought in my mind, I thought it was the bottom pleat opening up, but it was actually the top. So I sat there and I leaned for a while, and I'm like, man, this is super comfortable. I could do this. This is good. I can achieve comfort out of this saddle in the leaning position. And after a while, I'm just trying to mess around with things, try to fine tune the feel. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna open up the top, and I realized that it was the top that was already open, not the bottom. And to be honest with you, and I'll show you some B-roll here, this is basically where I personally found this saddle to be comfortable. Again, I can raise and lower the tether about a foot, and it still is right in that zone with the top pleat open. And now I'm just sitting with the bottom pleat closed. Now I want you to notice something here. With the top pleat open, there's nothing, right? There's nothing until I'm in a good strong lean, and then all of a sudden in the small of my back, I get that additional support. So it worked out for me in the leaning position really, really nicely with this top pleat open. And I can't explain why there's nothing here. This doesn't come in and touch my back more. I can't explain it. You can see again, leaning in it, that I have really nothing going on up here. But at the same time, even though there's nothing going on up here, that has worked out for me and my body style pretty good, because this belt line and this strap is now right on top of my iliac crest. And if that was pulled in like it was with the Shrike when I hunted out of that, I wouldn't hunt out of the saddle, because it would be pulling on that iliac crest, and no matter what I would do, I wouldn't be able to get it off of it. And so because there's no pressure here, even though it's right over top that iliac crest, it's not an issue for me. Now, I can't speak to any other body style besides my body style. These are just things that I experienced in the real world scenario when I was hunting. So just keep that in mind. This is how I would hang, and even in the sitting position, this is what I found myself to be doing. It supports. It holds me nicely like that. Again, even still, there's nothing touching that back. One thing I found with the top of this pleat and the saddle not really having pressure here is I was hunting late season and I had the Badlands Pyre jacket, and it's a puffy coat, it's a heavy coat, and you know, depending on the saddle, if you put big layers underneath of it, it can really change how that saddle feels. And I was able, with this back being the way it is, I was able to put my Pyre jacket on there and it not change the comfort of the saddle at all. And so that was a big plus to me in my book. Now, even in the leaning position, I want to point out that right here, you can see the fold of that strap, okay, where my fingers are going in. And that strap is actually right over top the ball joint. My ball joint and my hip is like right here. So it's right in and around the ball joint of my hip. And generally that's a problem for me. But again, and I can't explain it, but the way that 4-inch webbing strap is, that HD poly, I think is what he's called it, and the way that the secondary strap folds over, even though it lands on the ball joint of my hip, all of this right here is providing support. And so it's not like it's a predominant strap holding all of the weight right there. It's distributed nicely. And so it just doesn't create that hot spot like I anticipated it to create. So you can do it with the top open. This is how I was. You can do it with both the top and the bottom open. And this, I'll show you in demonstration here, these straps as well. So now I have both the top and the bottom open, and I could lean like that. You know, my ball joint's right here. There's not a lot of pressure. But what Jerry did on this was he sewed this, I don't know exactly what he called it, but it's basically a cinch strap that allows you to open and close the pleated area right here at your hip. So I can grab that and I can open it, and then you can watch and see how that will open up that saddle even more. So what that does is that accommodates, in theory, I'm not a bigger guy, so I can't really, you know, speak with authority, but what that does is you can see how much that has opened this saddle up. And so that, in theory, accommodates a much larger framed guy. It accommodates a much larger frame hip area, leg area. And so in the sitting position, I could come down. Really what it reminds me of is some of those bigger size saddles. I think 2.5 years ago, I had the Cruiser XC in a larger size, and it went down my leg a lot and even up the small of my back. And so it reminds me of something like that. But the unique thing, again, I'll go back to this, the unique thing about this saddle is these two gray straps that are your pleats, and then this center strap. It holds pressure, whereas some of the other pleated saddles that I have used, it does not hold pressure. And so I really feel like this saddle, and again, I can only speak to my body style, this saddle would accommodate a very large range of body styles. And even here, I can sit and I could do this because you might not be able to see it, but the support is right here, right on that. And these two gray straps, that's where I'm feeling most of the support. And then here, but when I'm sitting, there's nothing at the top. So yeah, I can achieve comfort in multiple scenarios, in multiple different ways. And I gave Jerry feedback. Again, my biggest concern was how this top strap, the top strap of the pleat, when this stuff was closed, how that would create that pressure point. And I gave him the feedback. He worked on some scenarios and came to the conclusion that I just have a predominant iliac crest, whatever that means. And so I got a good laugh out of that. But like I said before, in multiple positions, in multiple different scenarios, I can achieve comfort. There's just a lot of adjustment in this saddle. There really is. There's just a lot of adjustment. If you didn't want all that room and you wanted to control some of what was going on, you can cinch that up, and then you can kind of feel how that will change that pressure setting for you. So that's been my experience. That's been my experience in the Cobra saddle. You can mess around with your tether height. I've done it with a lot. I've actually messed around with the tether height at my chest, and I could do that, leaning that all day. And yeah, so ultimately I can achieve comfort. And you know, I'm going to continue to mess around with this saddle, but I definitely have noticed that this webbing and stuff that has really broken in and has changed the feel of those straps on either my hip joint or my iliac crest. But this is my favorite position right here. in the saddle with a low tether or high tether, don't matter. I like it with the top open and the bottom closed, and I could lean in that all day long and find comfort. So yeah, if you have any questions, if there's something I haven't covered, just shoot me a question. As always, I appreciate you watching. Thank you for your support. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. And again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below.